So maybe just give a kind of brief background on how you got to where you're at today. And I would like to kind of tie that into the dietitian aspect of it. And
my story is interesting because I used to live back at home in South America. So I am from Venezuela originally. And I used to just be a dietitian that was training coaches and general population to just eat healthier and eat better, modify their lifestyle to improve their body composition. So I was mostly like a sports dietitian / fitness dietitian most part, which is something that I have carried for my entire career. I still do all of what I used to do. But on top of that, obviously with the years, I had to move to Australia, and that was 10 years ago. And when I moved to Australia, I did my master's degree, which was in dietetics and practice, but there was a few pieces here and there that added to my background and knowledge, which was motivational interviewing and a lot more communication with your clients and how do you negotiate and partner with your clients to actually make shared decisions and actually make them durable and optimal for the client to actually execute. So I think that may have modified a little bit the way I used to coach and work with patients in the hospital, because initially when you get trained as a dietitian, you get trained to be a dietitian in a hospital. You don't necessarily get trained to be a coach or a nutrition coach or work with clients online. Like none of that ever existed, and none of that was something that we thought we needed to be trained at until obviously online nutrition coaching was much more a thing and people started needing more that service, which was a demand online. I think it's always been there, but especially after COVID, I think something boomed with everything being online, and now everything is much more optimized in terms of the tools coaches have to implement and improve the service when it comes to do nutrition coaching. And part of what it really helped me to streamline my approach and the way I work was probably a lot of personal struggles and lots of different things that I had to endure myself. Even before coming to Australia, when you are a public figure, someone who is on social media, people are looking up to you and they are wanting to look for a role model. And you have like this kind of pressure that you need to show up and show what you preach. So it was a really hard point to try to eat in a place where I was showing who I was, but I also was showing something that people could admire and could follow as a role model, something that was in my mind. Who is going to follow a dietitian who is not in shape, or who is, oh, she's a sport dietitian, but she's fat? Like that in my mind, it was like, that doesn't make sense. So obviously with studying nutrition and you start learning about meal plans and dieting and all of those things, I'm not going to lie, you can get pretty obsessed about it. And you can get to, if you're not very careful, you can get to a very extreme, dangerous place. You want to do right for what you want to achieve. And especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to launch a business, you are the only figure and the image of your brand. So you have to look like someone who is worth following or listening to. That on its own impacted a lot the way I used to work with my relationship with food and my exercise. Like I became really, really extreme at exercising. I was exercising 2 to 3 hours a day, every day. I wouldn't have a day of rest. And I also had like a very poor relationship with food. Once you move to a new place and the other side of the world to begin with, it's not just to the corner, I had to start from scratch. Like no one knows you. No one has a clue who you are. You're no longer anyone. And adding to that, I had to learn a new language. I am native speaker of Spanish. And I had such a hard time translating in my mind everything I knew from, like, I was like super confident doing everything I used to do. I used to run nutrition workshops with patients, with clients, with coaches. And then suddenly I am no one and I can't communicate. I can't transmit my message. It was time for me of like a shock, but I also like, now that I don't have anything that I have to show up for because no one really knows me anymore, I had to really think about my relationship with food and who I was and my body image and all of that. So it was a period of a hard transition for me because then I kind of was showing to the gym, but there was no longer the pressure that I needed to show up on a workshop or anything else. It truly challenged my whys and my purpose and why I was doing certain things for people and for myself. You can imagine how this is shaping the way I start treating myself and transforming my inner purpose and the relationship that I had with myself, and also to understand better my relationship with food and why I was restricting so much stuff and overeating when I was able to eat, because that was that scarcity mindset that you develop when you completely eliminate foods and you label foods as good or bad. That was like a very important transition for me that happened over 4-5 years. Then I started my Instagram from scratch and started just posting stuff. I didn't even know how to even communicate on a social media. So I was just posting random stuff until like I on purpose and putting things out and learning from other people. So I got into Canva finally after downloading like 29-30 apps and just knowing that didn't work. Let's now figure out how to do it, because I didn't do a course. I didn't it was such a early times that I didn't even know where to go, what to do, anything. So pretty much I endure and put everything slowly to where I finally kind of started knowing what I wanted and I needed to do to communicate and put out a message. And then I started following a lot of different people in the industry that we nowadays know they are evidence-based faces of nutrition. But for the most part, they were kind of like my eye openers into a lot of different issues that I had with my relationship with food. I just need to work on myself. And there are a lot of different things that need to change. And so one of those were stop over obsessing with food. I definitely stopped tracking and doing a lot of different things that were just leading me to getting even more obsessed with food. And I sort of started transitioning into a period where I may have gained 10-15 pounds, but I was no longer over obsessing with exercise, and I just needed that healing. And on top of that, I had lost my period for 3 years before coming to Australia. So imagine 3 years without my period. I wasn't the leanest person, but I know I definitely was pretty messed up internally with everything that I was doing. I got my period back. I was eating back just a bit more normal. And I was trying to normalize my lifestyle around what I was trying to do. So that's when I think anti-diet dietitian came about. I was just searching for a name that could be representing a bit of my story. Also, when I started working with clients and kind of like looking at the biggest problems in the industry and why a lot of people lose weight and gain all the way back, is mostly related to that obsession of trying to do things super fast and doing those crash diets and things that are so superficial. They can be very intense, can be like 100% all or nothing. Like you either do it or just go away. If you don't do it this way, then you probably don't are not getting it right. So there were so many different fad diets emerging at that point as well. Like we had the keto diet and celery and detoxes and stuff. Like I was looking at so many different things that I said, this is why a lot of people are falling into this trap of trying to find a miracle that will get them to lose the weight, and that super fast. But then once that ends, they have no exit plan. They don't have anything to do. Okay, what's the diet after the diet? Like, how is your nutrition going to look like after you have finished your diet? There's no plan. There's no structure. You haven't learned anything. You haven't changed your behavior and your mindset. You can still be thinking about, once you finish your diet, you're going to get back to eating pizza every night and donuts for breakfast and having a very poor diet overall and eating zero protein. So that was kind of like where I try to put together my anti-diet. Like, I'm not opposed to dieting as long as it's with the correct approach, with the right strategies, with the right mindset. And this is one of the things that I am a really good proponent at, is you can have the exercise really, really well planned. You can follow the best diet, but if your mindset is not right and is not aligned with your goals, and you don't learn about changing your behaviors and your habits, you can do everything perfect on this end, but this is going to be a link, a very loose link, that is going to end up messing up with the rest. So you have this trifecta that needs to be in a perfect place in order for you to master weight loss, not just for the short term, but forever. So when I came with the 9 anti-diet, is just really anti-crush dieting. I just couldn't put together a name that was so long. So I just said, look, I will have to explain it. So that is where I'm kind of coming from. It's mostly, I'm a proponent of use the right approaches, work on your mindset first, work on how you deal with bad days, which we all are, as humans, are really bad at dealing with bad days. And then if we failed, or we think we fail at what we were meant to be doing, then we feel like we fucked up and we're a failure. And then why should I continue pushing if I just fucked up? Like, what the hell? I just started Monday. So these mindsets and all of these things are one of kind of like the pillars that I kind of push forward to my clients. And for to anyone who listens to my message, is you need to really find that piece, that missing link that is required for you to actually master anything that is related to your physique. Because it's not just about weight loss. It's also about gaining muscle. It's also about just maintaining your weight. It's also about some of those that need to make some body changes and body recomposition, that we can find that some people just need that, or people that just need to do a proper reverse diet, or get out and just eat better. So it applies to a lot more than just weight loss. It applies to your diet and how you just live a lifestyle that aligns with your purpose and your core beliefs and core values. And also you can drag that for the rest of your life.